Alright, got a little webbot update. Immediacy data reports, as he likes to call them now, because he's focusing on the near future events. This is actually from yesterday, so this is May 29th, 2014. It's about a 40-minute video that audio update he did. I'm gonna, as I usually do my little summaries. One of the data sets has the same level of details coming in now like back when the East Coast power outage occurred that they forecasted in the webbot report. The data is not similar, but the value is the same. So maybe this is going to be quite accurate, I guess. I'm not sure. There's something coming in again, in the near future regarding the reflecting waters of a marsh. The sun is going to rise, I guess, over this marsh. It's something to do with these reflecting waters, but vast number of officialdom, whether it's police or some kind of rescue crew, different uniforms, they're working on something together. Lots of them in different types of uniforms, looking in this marsh and putting in their little boats and dinghies, trying to find something. News will be there, media, whatever. Lots of activity. These, quote, reflective waters. This thing may be that they are looking for a dead body. Matter of fact, that's exactly what it appears to be. More than likely a suicided or killed person. And more so than not, it appears to be a woman of this body. This is going to be a woman's body who has been suicided and had her, they dumped her body in the marsh. So this person is not just going to be an average person. Apparently, they're going to be well known somehow. Possibly a politician. You'll recognize them as a politician, or maybe a rich or famous person. They're going to be known when you see this person, this dead woman in a marsh who has been suicided, tried to look like a suicide, but it says on camera, because the news and other sources are going to be there filming this, as in the news story. Other evidence will be found. So almost like on camera, they're going to see something else that pretty much contradicts, okay, that's not a suicide, that kind of a thing. And instead, obviously, they were killed. The apparently younger sister of the victim becomes somewhat of a driving force against officialdom in regards to this event of her sister getting killed. As well as that, another woman, and I'm not sure, I think she might even be on scene when the cameras are rolling and that kind of thing, or maybe later when they're talking about this event of this person. How they do on the news, they get two or three people together and they talk about so-and-so that just died in the marsh. Now, they don't do that if you or I die. It's when someone of notoriety, etc., dies, then they're going to have, the little talking heads, and it could be something like that, or it could literally be another woman on scene, either being interviewed by the news camera or says something, whatever. And it has to do with what the webbot is picking up, blind in one eye. And the data surrounding this term isn't enough for them to say exactly what they think it means. So there's a couple of scenarios what this blind in one eye might mean. It may mean, and there could be evidence, as in listen to what she's saying, that she stands for the Illuminati, the bankers, the club. She's trying to basically stick up for them in some way. Or literally, she's blind in one eye, and she's going to be on scene, or again, talking later, whatever. She's on the news, she's blind in one eye, and speaks about the incident. Not that this really has anything to do with anything else. It's just another piece of data that came out. So just something to look for. This event marks the beginning of the end of the powers that be. And this sister of hers talks about how she told her now dead sister a while back not to hang around these people she's hanging around that have now ultimately killed her. And in regards to this event, Lots of paper burning by the powers that be. Let's got to get rid of the evidence. So does that mean politicians are involved and we need to subpoena some records? Oh, I can't. I had a little office fire. Oh, we accidentally shredded that. Sorry about that. That kind of stuff. But it doesn't say necessarily that it'll be politicians doing that. Whoever's responsible. So is that somehow the banksters and emails and or literally politicians? You know, the ones who really would be setting paper on fire, pretty much. We're not sure. Economic woes come into focus right around this time frame. Afterwards, but right around this time frame. This event will be the leading, or what he's calling the landing. So when you see this dead person suicided thing, this is going to be a little, precursor event of this black swan event that's coming afterwards. And this is going to be an economic black swan event. Bad economic events that take place. Not really an event per se, he says, but he said maybe an event. I don't really want to call it an event per se, but he says some situation arises out of this black swan economic thing that has happened that causes political repercussions, which then leads to the destruction of the past, i.e., from what I can gather here, more paper burning, more covering up of evidence somehow of maybe past wrongdoings or whatever tied to this event. I'm not sure. While the black swan event is taking place, it appears that our politicians are unable to make a decision and deal with it. Therefore, it just kind of unfolds, and here it is. Talking about the economic black swan. Another thing to look out for around this time is a strange recall. Similar to the GM car recalls recently, things like that. But this will be different. It's somehow connected to this black swan economic event. But he says it should be something to do with like a dried meat getting recalled. It's a little different than the average recall you've ever heard of. Yeah, sure, meat has been recalled and things like that, but not dried meat. So it's going to be something like that. Shortly after this, another thing that is tied to this data set is the current state of gold. The current state or circumstances for gold, if you will, start looking real good. Gold will enter a bull market somewhere around this point. So bull market means prices going up. Of course, silver is going to go with it. There will be discussions, even in the mainstream media, about the talk of opening up new gold mines, finding new sources to get gold, things like that. A series of shifts occur later this year that lead to silver and gold meeting in union. And he said when he was saying this, when Cliff High was reading what I'm basically summarizing here, that the data, it didn't say, in other words, it didn't say a series of shifts occur later this year that lead to gold and silver meeting in union. He said it started with the word silver. So later this year that lead to silver and gold meeting in union. Silver was the first word. He emphasized that. He says the number 12 tied to that is coming up as far as time period or that sort of thing. And he says it's more than likely not 12 months because he personally doesn't think that if silver, that 65-to-1 ratio with gold we currently have, which for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, right now, roughly it takes about 65 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold. Back in the day, and I mean as in thousands of years of history, up until fairly recent times, it would be around 16 ounces of silver to 1 ounce of gold. Sometimes 20 ounces of silver to gold. It never fluctuated too much more. Between 16 and 20 to 1 ratio. It's now 65 to 1 roughly. So forecasts way back in time, as far as the webbot goes, they've been talking about that ratio coming down absolutely, and absolutely going back to the norm of 16 to 1, 20 to 1, that area. Which, by the way, if it happened today, silver would be over $60 an ounce right now. But they said because of the chaos that ensues and the bubbles that get created in gold and silver, because everyone wants to then all of a sudden flock to it, and there ain't enough to go around, thus bubbles are created. You are going to see what they've seen more than one time in these webbot reports, that ratio of silver to gold coming from even 16 to 1, which would be phenomenal, down to 10 to 1. And they said not a whole lot of data supporting it, but they've seen at even if it's very briefly, 1 to 1 with gold. 1 ounce of silver will buy 1 ounce of gold. Don't know how far out in the future this is. Don't know if that'll ever come true. Not a lot of data on that part, but absolutely plenty of data showing that the 65 to 1 ratio is absolutely coming down. But again, what they are thinking they're reading here out of the data is that 1 to 1 with gold, silver to gold ratio. And he says the number 12 is coming up, and he says, I don't think, literally when the gold starts taking off, let's say later this year, that in 12 months, all of a sudden silver has gone from 65 to 1 down to close to 1 to 1. He doesn't think it could happen that fast, is all he's saying. And with the webbot, when they get numbers and things like that with dates, he always says the decimal point, you might as well just throw it away because it's usually wrong. And if I think it's 1200, it might be 120. It might be 12,000. It's just, we just can't, for whatever reason, can't seem to get that worked out with the webbot. So what he's saying is I don't think it's going to be 12 months. It's probably going to be 12 years if he had to guess. However, when things go wrong out in the world, just look at other countries, man. When things happen, they happen overnight. Argentina's dollar went from 1 to 1 with ours to 3 to 1. Literally, they woke up the next day. That's a large decrease in the value of your dollar. You just lost 66% or what have you of your dollar overnight. So sure, things can happen rapidly, especially when these powers that be lose control. So he's just guessing and says that the 12 is there. Is it 12? He said, I certainly don't think it's going to be 12 days. Could it be 12 months? Probably not likely either. It's probably more likely of 12 years, but I'm not sure, you know. A near doubling in terms of the emotional component to the general public also takes place in regards to gold and silver being a store of value, etc. So a doubling of the numeric value that the webbot has been keeping track of as far as what it sees out there, what it's picking up on gold and silver, the chat, whatever. A doubling in terms of the emotional component. So he's got different components, you know, emotional component, other components of data with numbers. And the emotional set is saying it's doubling in regards. So once again, bubbles get created out of emotion. People driving out of it. Oh my God, the price is rising. I gotta get in. I gotta get in. Those emotions kicking in. The powers that be try to control the markets by some other. And he said, by the way, even though it's kind of attached to this data set, it didn't say what specific market. It just used the word markets. So is it talking about silver still or gold, or just markets generally? It didn't say. But apparently, I think it's talking about silver, and you'll see why, because he also mentions this too. The powers that be try to control the markets by some other method other than the London PM fix, which is going away in August. Ultimately, it does not seem to matter what they try to do because their power is slowly eroding. And because later this year, August, is when he's seeing like the golden thing starting to take off, he's assuming that because also the London PM fix for silver is going away in August, been there for 117 years, that quite possibly that term of the powers that be try to control the markets by some other method, you can pretty much guess, okay, well, it's probably that London PM fix thing. Regarding outer space type stuff, Russia and China space exploration will be announced sometime in the near future. And it's going to be kind of like a citizens academy of let's go explore space and, I don't know, I'm not going to say colonize it, so to speak, but kind of, you know, something in that to that nature. And he said, by the way, because, you know, we're not exactly friends with Russia and China at the moment, he says Westerners will be invited. However, we're going to understand who's in charge. And that's them, not us. Some kind of fire issue also coming from space. It's not, he says, I'm not really sure if it's meteors, but the meteor doesn't fit the description. Something to do with fires coming from space. It will be something we have not really experienced and will be abnormal. Some kind of new phenomenon. Not sure what that means. Another thing, and this is the final thing, a couple of new breakthroughs in seed cultures. Seed germination that we've never seen before. It's a new way to germinate seeds that is very useful. Something along the lines, for example, of we found a way to grow seeds in outer space, and it might, I'm not going to say that, he didn't say anything else, but I'm just thinking myself here what that could mean as far as a breakthrough. Why would it be a breakthrough to create a seed that grows in outer space, and of course then bring it down, harvest it, and then bring it down to Earth? Only thing I could think of would be the fact that plants, as you know, need sunlight to grow. And half the day is dark, half the day is day, or whatever. Well, if you had a seed that was in outer space to where it gets sunlight 100% of the time, is it going to grow very quickly, doubling or maybe tripling, what we had to wait here on Earth for a normal plant to grow and produce fruit or vegetables or whatever? At the same time, you could probably argue and say, well, why don't people just do that with like hydroponics inside of a facility with, lights inside that stay on 24 hours a day? And I would say, yeah, you're right. Why would we need to go in outer space to do it? Why would it be better in outer space? And he didn't go any more detail. That's all he had. So what I'm telling you now may not even be the benefit of the seed germination in outer space. But there may be some other benefit that we're not aware of. Maybe we find that the foods and whatnot that are created in outer space because of this new system they put out there that can germinate a seed out there, maybe the food is phenomenal. It's phenomenally healthy, or it's a lot larger. I don't know. So I'm just gonna, I'm just going out and giving you some of my opinion here. That's it. That's all I got. And he said the next update may not be for a couple weeks, so we will see. Take care.